In the vibrant and competitive era of the 1980s, the video game industry was blossoming, capturing the imaginations of people worldwide. Among the enthusiasts was Hank Rogers, a visionary game developer with a deep passion for puzzle games. Hank's life was dedicated to exploring how games could not only entertain, but also challenge the mind and stimulate creativity. Based in the United States, Hank was always on the lookout for the next big thing in gaming, which led him to frequent gaming conventions and tech meetups around the world. His company was small, yet it had already made a name for itself by creating games that were not only fun, but intellectually engaging. The 1980s were marked by the rise of arcade games and the transition to more personal gaming experiences as computers found their way into more homes. Puzzle games, in particular, were gaining traction because they appealed to a broad audience. They didn't rely on fast reflexes or spectacular graphics, but instead offered cerebral challenges that were addictive and rewarding. Hank's journey was fueled by his belief that games were the ultimate form of interactive art. He saw them as puzzles that could bring people together, provide escape, and even subtly educate. His quest to find a game that epitomized these ideals took him across continents, from crowded exhibitions in Tokyo to experimental labs in Silicon Valley. Little did he know, his next discovery would change his life and the landscape of gaming forever. During a business trip to Hungary, Hank stumbled upon a simple yet mesmerizing game that instantly captured his attention. This game, named Tetris, was the creation of a Soviet programmer named Alexei Pajitnov. It featured falling tetrominoes that players had to arrange to complete lines, which would then disappear to make room for more pieces. The concept was straightforward, but the gameplay was infinitely engaging. Hank found Tetris at a small computer lab where local developers showcased their projects. The game was running on a rudimentary Soviet-built computer, its graphics bare bones, but its mechanics flawless. Despite the language barrier and the rudimentary setup, Hank was immediately drawn to the elegance and addictive quality of the game. He spent hours at the lab, completely absorbed, as he maneuvered the geometric shapes falling faster and faster from the top of the screen. Recognizing the game's potential to captivate a global audience, Hank approached Alexei, eager to discuss the possibility of bringing Tetris to a broader market. Alexei, who had created the game more out of personal interest and less with commercial intentions, was intrigued by Hank's proposal. However, he explained that as a citizen of the Soviet Union, he faced significant restrictions and uncertainties about how he could legally share his creation with the world. Undeterred by the complexity of the situation, Hank saw an opportunity not only to expand his business, but also help a fellow developer share his genius with the world. He returned to the United States with a copy of Tetris, determined to navigate the maze of Cold War politics and intellectual property laws to secure the rights to distribute the game internationally. Back in the United States, Hank Rogers began the complex process of securing the international distribution rights for Tetris. He quickly realized that this would be no ordinary business deal. The game had been created in the Soviet Union, a place where the concept of personal intellectual property rights was vastly different from that of the Western world. Hank's first step was to establish communication with Alexei Pajitnov and the Soviet organization responsible for computer software exports. This led him to Elektro-Norg-Technica, or ELORG, the only entity authorized to negotiate software deals outside of the USSR. Hank embarked on numerous trips to Moscow, navigating the bureaucratic labyrinth that was the Soviet administration, which was both confusing and time-consuming. Each meeting was fraught with difficulties, language barriers, cultural differences, and the political tensions of the Cold War era compounded the challenges. Hank had to learn to negotiate in a way that aligned with Soviet practices, which often involved lengthy discussions and the involvement of numerous officials who were skeptical of Western business practices and intentions. During one crucial meeting, Hank presented a detailed proposal outlining the potential of Tetris as a global phenomenon. He emphasized not only the financial benefits that could come from such a partnership, but also the cultural exchange it would promote. Despite his passionate pitch, the response was non-committal. The Soviet officials were cautious, aware of the strategic and ideological implications of allowing a piece of Soviet-created software to be commercialized by a Western entrepreneur. Meanwhile, competitors from Japan and Europe also entered the fray, aware of Tetris's potential and eager to secure their own rights. This turned the negotiations into a high-stakes game of international intrigue, with Hank racing against time and rivals to clinch the deal. As Hank Rogers deepened his involvement in the intricate negotiations for Tetris, he realized that forming strategic alliances would be essential to his success. Given the competitive interest in the game and the complex international legal landscape, Hank sought partnerships with companies that had experience navigating the Soviet system and the global video game market. One of the pivotal alliances was with Nintendo of Japan. Nintendo was already a giant in the gaming industry, and their interest in Tetris was piqued by its potential as a flagship title for the upcoming Game Boy console. Hank approached Minoru Arakawa, the president of Nintendo of America, proposing a partnership that would leverage Nintendo's distribution network and technological expertise to bring Tetris to a worldwide audience. However, securing this alliance was not straightforward. Nintendo was cautious, having its own negotiations with the Soviets and wary of overstepping any legal boundaries. Hank's negotiations with Nintendo involved multiple rounds of discussions, during which he had to carefully balance his interests with those of the Japanese company, ensuring that both parties could benefit significantly from the deal. At the same time, Hank faced fierce competition from other companies who were attempting to secure the rights to Tetris for themselves. Notable among these was Atari, which had erroneously secured rights from a European company that claimed to own the worldwide distribution rights. This misunderstanding led to a contentious rivalry, as Atari began producing and selling Tetris cartridges, unaware that their legal ground was not as solid as they had assumed. As the negotiations progressed, Hank Rogers found himself at a critical juncture. The discussions with Nintendo had matured into a promising partnership, and now it was essential to finalize the deal with the Soviet authorities to ensure the legal distribution of Tetris under Nintendo's banner. Despite the competing claims from Atari and other companies, Hank remained focused on securing a clear and undisputed agreement directly from the source, ELORG, the Soviet organization with the authority to license software abroad. Returning to Moscow, Hank was prepared for the most intense negotiations of his career. Armed with a deeper understanding of Soviet protocols and backed by Nintendo's support, he presented a compelling case to the Soviets. He emphasized the global appeal of Tetris and how it could serve as a symbol of technological and cultural collaboration between the East and West during a time of tension and uncertainty. After exhaustive negotiations, a breakthrough finally occurred. The Soviet officials, recognizing the potential for significant revenue and the opportunity to showcase Soviet ingenuity on a global stage, agreed to grant the rights for console and handheld versions of Tetris to Nintendo. This agreement was a monumental achievement for Hank, who had tirelessly navigated through layers of bureaucracy and international legal challenges. With the agreement secured, Hank and his partners at Nintendo were ecstatic. The deal not only ensured that Tetris could be legally distributed on the Game Boy and other consoles, but also marked a turning point in the global video game industry. It demonstrated the power of persistence and strategic thinking in overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The interplay of these alliances and rivalries set the stage for a series of legal battles and strategic maneuvers. Hank had to navigate not only the negotiations with the Soviets and his potential partners, but also take legal action against those infringing on what he believed were his rights. With the legal hurdles cleared and an agreement finally in place, Hank Rogers and Nintendo began the ambitious task of launching Tetris to the global market. This phase was crucial. It required meticulous planning and an aggressive marketing strategy to introduce Tetris as not just a game, but a cultural phenomenon. Nintendo decided to bundle Tetris with the Game Boy, a strategic move that proved to be a masterstroke. This pairing was based on the belief that the addictive, simple-to-understand nature of Tetris would showcase the portable console's strengths and appeal to a broad demographic, from children to adults, gamers and non-gamers alike. The launch was synchronized with a massive marketing campaign that highlighted the game's unique ability to challenge the mind and deliver endless entertainment. The marketing campaigns were diverse and vibrant, featuring television commercials, print ads, and even public gaming competitions. These efforts painted Tetris as a bridge between cultures and generations, emphasizing its origins in the Soviet Union and its development into a global sensation. As Tetris hit the shelves, the response was unprecedented. The simplicity of stacking blocks, combined with the psychological satisfaction of clearing lines, made it irresistibly engaging. People were not just playing Tetris, they were talking about it, sharing strategies, and competing with each other. The game quickly became a staple in entertainment media, appearing in movies, television shows, and even academic studies exploring its impact on the human brain and problem-solving skills. The success of Tetris on the Game Boy catapulted Nintendo to new heights in the console market and cemented Hank Rogers' reputation as a visionary in the gaming industry. The game's launch not only transformed the landscape of video gaming, but also proved that games could transcend cultural and geopolitical barriers to bring people together. The meteoric rise of Tetris across global markets brought not only fame and financial success, but also a new set of challenges for Hank Rogers and Nintendo. The game's popularity spawned numerous copycats and legal disputes over licensing agreements that had been ambiguously interpreted or improperly executed by other companies. One of the most significant battles was with Atari, which had continued to sell their version of Tetris for home consoles based on an agreement with a European company that did not have the proper rights. The conflict escalated into a high-profile court case that tested the intricacies of international software licensing. Hank, alongside Nintendo's legal team, had to navigate these waters carefully, defending their exclusive rights to Tetris while ensuring that the brand's reputation remained intact. Furthermore, the sudden wealth generated by Tetris attracted unwanted attention. Hank found himself dealing with financial advisors and potential partners with dubious intentions. Learning to manage his newfound wealth and maintaining his focus on nurturing other innovative gaming projects became a balancing act. Amidst these external pressures, Hank also faced personal challenges. The demands of his career took a toll on his family life. Long hours and constant travel meant less time spent at home. The strain of maintaining a work-life balance became evident, requiring Hank to reevaluate his priorities and make significant adjustments to preserve his relationships and personal well-being. Despite these challenges, the success of Tetris also had positive repercussions. It funded further technological research and development within Nintendo, leading to new gaming platforms and innovations. Additionally, the visibility and success of Tetris helped establish video gaming as a legitimate and lucrative part of the entertainment industry, paving the way for future developers and gaming companies. As the dust settled from the legal battles and the frenzy of Tetris's global impact, Hank Rogers took a moment to reflect on his journey. From a passionate gamer and developer to a key figure in one of the most significant turning points in the gaming industry, his path has been filled with unexpected twists and profound lessons. The success of Tetris had far-reaching effects, not only on Hank's professional life, but also on the entire gaming industry. It demonstrated the universal appeal of simple yet engaging game mechanics and underscored the importance of intellectual property rights in the burgeoning digital age. The legal battles over Tetris underscored the necessity for clear, international agreements on software distribution and copyright, setting precedents that influenced future industry standards. Hank's personal growth mirrored the evolution of the gaming industry. The challenges of balancing life and work, managing sudden wealth, and navigating corporate and legal landscapes taught him the importance of integrity, foresight, and maintaining one's passion amidst commercial success. These lessons shaped his subsequent ventures, as he became a mentor to new developers and an advocate for ethical business practices in gaming. The legacy of Tetris continued to influence culture and technology. It became a subject of study in fields ranging from cognitive science to design, celebrated for its addictive quality and its unexpected ability to improve various mental skills. Tetris-themed merchandise, art, and music proliferated, cementing its status as a cultural icon. Reflecting on the impact of his work, Hank felt a deep sense of accomplishment and gratitude. The game that started as a simple puzzle on a Soviet computer had transcended boundaries and brought people together across the globe. As the story concludes, Hank looks forward to his next adventure in the gaming world, ready to innovate and inspire yet again.